great people. We are grateful to be in your way this morning. This is Governance and Style. Here we talk about political issues, social issues, education, lifestyle. Today happens to be a very special day because we have one of our very own mother, our role model, and then our mentor. She's in the person of Mrs. Samia.
Just
Yaba,
Samia.
Honorable
Samia
Yaba in Nkrumah. I am privileged to have her on our show. Mom.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
You look so beautiful.
Thank you. I like it when young people pay me compliments.
The very first time I saw you was when I was in class 3. And then ever since, you've not changed. What is your secret?
The secret, I think, is good motives.
Wow.
And good thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah, because when your ego is small and you have unselfish ambitions, I think it helps a lot. It keeps you positive and thinking constructively.
Wow. Honorable, we all know you are the very first daughter of the first president of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Who is really the person behind Samia Nkrumah?
Okay, it's true, as you say, I carry a big name, a great name, but I'm just the humble daughter of this great man. And we always like to say, and we think, that his children are all those who benefited from free and compulsory education. So I think Otumfour Kwame Nkrumah has, and I hope, has a lot of children. And by that I mean followers. Because I believe what we need now are genuine followers of Kwame Nkrumah's ideas and teachings.
Mom, we want to find out from you, did you school in Ghana?
Yes, partly. For almost 6 years before the illegal overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah's government, I was schooling here in nursery. And then after that, we went to Egypt, where, yes, we started our primary school there, what you call elementary, I think, what we call here. And then we returned in 75 to go to Achimota school. Yes.
So based on what you said, it means you schooled elsewhere. You had your education, some education in Egypt. Comparing those places that you schooled, how do you see the difference?
Yes, Egypt and Ghana, and then I finished my university in England. You see, my BA and my MA. So. Okay, good question. What are the differences? I mean, aside from, of course, there's a cultural difference. Africa, we are fortunate, I think, to have diverse cultures and languages. So the language was different, even though you still study in English or French, but you have Arabic. And the focus is different. So, for example, the whole question of Palestine, I got to understand it from my time, in my schooling in Egypt. That informed my ideas and my position. The same thing with the civilization, our African or black pharaonic civilization, because in Egypt you study the pharaohs and the earliest history. So there are differences here and there, but I think, like most developing countries, Egypt is still, even though a bigger country than Ghana, but I think yes, I think the most in common with here too, you see that there are a lot of schools with overpopulated schools, I would say. So we have some similar challenges with education.
Okay, that's great. We want to find out from you, when you were schooling, did you by any chance get yourself into any relationship?
Oh dear, okay, then you must be thinking of when I was here in Achimota.
Okay.
Yes, because I was a teenager by then.
That's wonderful.
Yes. good
You were so
Lord. But it's
beautiful.
no, but it's so long ago. No, but I was very shy.
Okay.
We had to adjust from from Cairo to Accra. So I think I was very shy. I think I started everything late. I was a very good girl.
Wow.
Yes, yes. I was a very good. I don't remember having boyfriends till way into my 20s.
So, whilst in school, did you ever contest for any position?
Actually not. My years here were I was adapting to coming back home. Coming back home in more senses than one. Culturally, everything. So I think I was more of an observer than anything else. So I needed time to adjust and yes.
Okay, so we want to find out from you, how do you define good leadership?
Good. Of course, we have a great mentor and teacher and leader. For those of us who've read Kwame Nkrumah, who've had the privilege of reading his books, his writings, and studying him a little, we see in him a good leader to emulate. And of course, I've had also the privilege of also getting to know a bit about his personal life and the principles he upheld. So to me, to know what a good leader should be like, study Kwame Nkrumah. So, and you can see from his teachings, that a good leader would be someone who is not afraid of speaking the truth, even the truth to power. Kwame Nkrumah went to prison for his, to highlight the need for us to gain national liberation. He was courageous, so that's a mark of a good leader. And a good leader, of course, is someone who has a vision to free his or her people from exploitation. Because in Africa we have a particular condition. Black people, yes, have been through years of slavery, colonialism, and today economic exploitation, or we use big words like marginalization. So we still need to free ourselves from economic bondage or the dominance of others over us economically. So a good leader today should be someone who speaks out against the economic injustice that African people are subjected to. But over and above all this, I think a good leader must be honest and incorruptible. Because what we are suffering from is because over the years some of our leaders have sold us out. So a mark of a good leader, African leader today, is someone who cannot be compromised, cannot be bought. You see, if you are bought in your country, you will be also bought outside your country. So it's there's a lot to learn, I think, from following Kwame Nkrumah's footsteps.
Mom, you've been able to define who a good leader is, and then you've been able to keep good leadership quality, where you talked about vision, courage, and then the person must also be selfless, be honest. I want to find out from you, how do you see the current leadership of our country? Will you define it as good leadership?
You see, since the illegal overthrow in 1966, Kwame Nkrumah's influence over us has waned. We abandoned the policies that Ghana immediately after independence adopted, like economic planning, the 7-year development plan that would have helped us become an industrialized country. We shelved it. But it's not just with the policies, even with our education, the slant or approach our education took. So we abandoned that freedom mindset. And we replaced it with what I would call, what we do call a new colonial mindset, which means what? A mindset that is dependent on others, particularly our old colonial masters. So we become dependent on the way they think, learning from them and taking their advice as to how to run our economies. The leadership that came after Kwame Nkrumah has been imbued with that kind of thinking. And that has been reflected in our policies, our total dependence on the prescriptions of the IMF and the financial institutions, our total dependence on what our creditors tell us and want us to do. So we've been suffering from this malaise, this disease, and we need to cure ourselves from this disease.
So how then do we solve this?
So,
do you have any
yes,
plans?
we have to solve it. We have to solve it by people, young people, more women and men, understanding why we are where we are, to wake up, to be more courageous.
And you think that one will help?
It definitely will. There's something called people's power.
People's power.
Yes. People have the power. The numbers, we have the numbers, and we have the power to compel the leadership across the board, all over, not just in Ghana, but the whole of the continent, to do the right thing by our people. So I feel that is the lacking element has been the mentality. Yes.
Do you have any plans organizing a national women's conference where you bring all the women in our country together for development?
We've been brainstorming.
Okay.
Because, you know, in one of Kwame Nkrumah's books, I think it's Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare, he says that the degree of a country's revolutionary awareness is measured by the political maturity of its women. And if you look at our history, every big change that has happened, like independence, even the Pan-African movement, women were heavily involved and engaged. So no change will happen without women really taking up, you know, that, yes, taking up the rightful position, which means getting engaged fully in that process of change. So you are right, we've been brainstorming for a while and saying, yes, we need a strong women's movement conference. We just need, we need more of our women to help in the next phase of our development.
You know, recently our government suggested that we should encourage more women to pick up leadership responsibilities. What do you say? What do you think about that?
Yes. Before we come to the women, what we need to do is to pass the Affirmative Action Bill. Because it's one of the bills that have been there hovering. We need to see, you know, we need to see action, not just talk. And if I may also bring us back to our first republic, the 1960 People's Representation Act, women, whereby 10 women entered parliament under some kind of an affirmative action, you know, what we would today call an affirmative action measure, each representing a region of Ghana. So the pushing women forward was translated into law. Today we need that affirmative action bill to be passed to encourage and support more women to become more active. On an individual level, of course, we need to make our schools, I think, because everything starts with schooling, with education. We need to make our schools a bit more welcoming for greater women participation, but particularly in our rural areas, where sanitation is down, where sometimes there are no toilets, or very miserable places where people, can basically take care of their needs. So I think pushing women in education, improving education for boys and girls, not just women, I think will go a long way into preparing our girls to take their rightful place beside the men. Not behind, not in front, just beside.
Beside.
Yes.
That is wonderful.
Yes.
Mommy, we want to do away with politics and come to you. Have you ever had challenges combining your duty as a wife and a political figure?
Okay, we are the fortunate ones who have how do I say it? We are beyond the age where we have to be looking after young children and a family. So we've escaped that, But I can understand for a younger woman, it would be tough, and that is why we need creches, nurseries in every working place. Yeah, we really need a revolution in the way we think about women. You see, women should be allowed to breastfeed, bring their children with them to their workplaces. We just have, because bringing up children is not just the responsibility of the mother or the mother and father, but the whole of society, you see. So I think we need to think of all these things. Maternity leave, proper one, maybe a whole year, as is the case in some countries, so that women, when they are working, they can give their best. So I have been fortunate. By the time I went into active politics, my son was about 10, 11 years old. So yes, so it wasn't too difficult for me. When you have the support of your family too, then it is easier.
Honorable, we want to find out from you, what is your next action in terms of politics? What do you have in the next? What do you want to do in terms of politics?
Many things, because many things. The bottom line is that we must never give up, because as we've agreed, this is a mission. It's not about personal career or personal ambition or all this. It's a mission. So we have to persevere. We have to persevere. I'd like to see a very strong Nkrumah movement that would bring in young people from everywhere. Doesn't matter what your orientation is, but let us learn more about the blueprint Kwame Nkrumah left us, so we can see how we can apply it to today's changing circumstances.
That is a wonderful book, Dark Days in Ghana, forwarded by our Honorable Samia Yaba. Mom, we want to find out from you, why Dark Days in Ghana?
Okay, 2016 marked 50 years since the illegal overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah's government. And this book, which he wrote 2 years after the overthrow of his government, he explains really what happened to Ghana after. And it is very important, because it's like, in a way, he's defending his government's policies, and telling us there was a big change after 66. We sold our national assets, we abandoned his independent economic path, and the result is where we are today. Ghana was on par with South Korea, even ahead. Malaysia, look at where they are, look at where we are, in terms of industry, in terms of development. So I think it's a good book. He's not just defending his record, but I think he's opening our eyes to what must be done so that we can recapture that path towards economic independence that we started. So I think it's a good book for young people to understand.
That is wonderful. Mom, we gradually bringing our interview to a close. We want to find out from you, what are your general words to the general public?
That I am hopeful. I am hopeful that things can change for the better for Ghanaians, for the people of Ghana. But that will only happen if we make a decision. If we make a decision to start becoming courageous as a people, to join hands in prioritizing what needs to be done in our country, beginning with taking a strong stand against exploitation. And I am putting corruption under exploitation because it is a kind of exploitation.
That is wonderful.
Yes, it is. So we have to make up our minds as people, but particularly young people. What do we want to see? And what you want to see is you'll be working towards that objective. You see, it is time to act against exploitation in general, beginning with corruption in our country. So let these years be years of courage and standing against all exploitation. And I'm very hopeful. Despite everything, I'm hopeful. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. That was so wonderful. Mom, we are so privileged to have you on our show. God bless you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is Governance and Style with your man, Otumfour. That is where we bring our interview to a close with Honorable Samia Yaba in Nkrumah. I hope you really enjoyed the interview because I did. Visit our social media platforms on your screen. See you some other time. Remain positive. Bye-bye.